Good morning. Welcome back to the Marketing Thread. I am your host, Todd Schnitt, joined by my friend and colleague, Mandy Holm. Good morning, Mandy. Always good to see you. How are things this morning?
Going well.
Good. Instagram is my favorite social media platform. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. I always learn something from you guys. Before we go there, however, remind everyone what the Marketing Thread's all about.
Yeah, so the Marketing Thread is a series of short, snackable videos released monthly discussing current marketing trends. Our goal is to provide ideas that can be easily added into marketing plans to increase effectiveness. So this collection of easily digestible marketing videos addresses subjects like social media, best practices, generation-based marketing, media relations, blogging, among other helpful marketing tips designed to promote successful marketing strategies.
Yeah,
that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's been a great series. You know, I've been working with you guys over a decade now, and you know, I feel like I know a lot of this stuff. But every time we do one of these episodes, I always learn something. So, and there's a lesson to be had there too. And this stuff's always evolving, so you got to stay on top of things. So where are we going today? I mentioned Instagram, but go a little deeper.
Well, today we are going to cover Instagram, all the nitty gritty. So our focus today will be on the grid overall. I feel like there's so much I could talk about related to Instagram because, as you said, something changes every day. From a business standpoint, though, having just a general understanding of Instagram is no longer enough. Keeping up to date with the latest strategies and tactics is crucial, since it's ever evolving. More specifically, we're going to go over optimal content for Instagram, creating that cohesive grid, the pros and cons of a dedicated landing page, and utilizing strategic hashtags.
Boy, hashtags is critical with Instagram.
Absolutely. But first, I'm going to start with why you should care about Instagram in the first place. I think the numbers speak for themselves, but if you're still not convinced Instagram should be a part of your social media strategy, you should know that Instagram users spend almost as much time on the platform as Facebook users, browsing for an average 53 minutes a day compared to Facebook users' 58 minutes a day. So not a big gap there. And moreover, 60% of users discover new products on the platform, and 130 million Instagram accounts tap on a shopping post to learn more about products every month. That's some major buying power.
Well, I did this on purpose, but this t-shirt that I'm wearing, you can't really see it here. I bought this from clicking a link on Instagram. So I thought that would be appropriate, and it's one of my favorite t-shirts. But yeah, people are buying stuff here now. And I mentioned at the very top of the show that it's my favorite platform because it's so visually oriented. And that is why I adore it. I don't like Twitter because everyone talks a lot and complains about everything and bitches about politics. But Instagram is a whole different mindset, different attitude there. And it is visually oriented. And as we said, more and more people are buying stuff, me included.
Me as well. I'm with you. So speaking of content, let's dive into what makes optimal Instagram content. Our pre-show banter, you understand that not everything should go on Instagram. But it doesn't work in our favor that most consumers don't trust brands and view companies like faceless enemies. We're just out to make money. We're just telling them what they want to hear. All that to say, if your company wants to win over more customers, you've got to get them to trust you and face the facts. Photos with faces get 38% more likes. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that people need people. We are social animals, and thus seeing people, even depictions of people, makes us more comfortable. It helps the viewer identify with your brand. So beyond posting a stream of selfies, how do you strategically humanize your brand? Overall, people use social media to relax and even escape. Specifically Instagram, it's all visually oriented. So instead of breezing by yet another business post, stop them in their tracks with a good laugh. Interact with your audience through funny and trendy posts, but never forget why you're on Instagram, to develop a brand identity. So there's a fine line of being funny and having a comedy account versus a brand that can appreciate humor. Speaking of which, consider sharing the faces behind your brand or sharing user-generated content. They tag you for a reason. Or have agents snap a pic of new homeowners on closing day. Make a small investment in branded signage for those homeowners to hold. At the end of the day, remember to be authentic in your photos, captions, and responses. That's not to say that you shouldn't engage and interact in a product-oriented manner, but be conscious of promoting your products all the time and being too salesy. And try to respond to comments in unique ways. Don't just say thank you to every single one or only like every single one.
Be human. I mean,
exactly.
You don't need to overthink it. It just react in a natural human way as if they were sitting across from you at the table. I mean, it's not that hard.
Exactly.
I can vouch for the faces and the images. My wife and I promote our foundation on Instagram, and when we are talking about a project that we're supporting or backing or working, if I just post generic pictures of the organization we're supporting, it gets engagement. But when we post a photo with us in the shot with our project partners, it's dramatic, the difference of engagement. So that I can vouch for that fact.
And it's so funny because even if you're camera shy, if you don't want to put your face out there, do your dog.
Right.
We get so much engagement just from sharing pet posts. Like National Dog Day was recently, and I happen to have a picture of my clients' dogs, and we put it up. It gets engagement.
It does.
So, that being said, for the most part, most of our clients at the end of the day are here to sell homes. So professional photography is preferred in many, if not all, aspects of home selling, but especially on a visually driven platform like Instagram. Whatever you do, balance your grid strategically by alternating between interiors, exteriors, close-up details, living spaces, and then photos with faces and people. You don't want your grid to just be all exteriors, unless specifically that's what you want to push. But more often than not, you want to try to mix it up. And then beyond sharing your most beautiful photos, there are a couple more things to consider for posts. Tag locations when you can. Use emojis as appropriate to break up a lot of text. And try to work in video when possible. There are a couple different free programs you can use to create slideshow type videos of photos when actual video footage is not available. And they still perform really well. We usually try to do at least one video short. That's what we call them, a month for our clients. And more often than not, they are the top posts. So just getting some.
But I don't care for feeds that are 100% video. You need a mix.
Oh, yeah.
You need to mix it up. So I think that's important to say.
Absolutely. So then it's no surprise, moving on from there, that hashtags are an important part of Instagram. In fact, the platform's entire search function is built on hashtags. Those hashtags help increase a post's organic engagement, reach, and visibility, but it's not as simple as using whatever hashtags you want and seeing what sticks. They need to be specific search terms that have the most usage and are driving the most engagement. Make sure you're being strategic when selecting the right hashtag for your brand. I recommend using between 9 and 12 hashtags per post. So you can search relevant terms on Instagram and use the ones showing the most engagement. Instagram's really transparent about it. If you just search it, it lets you know the number right there. So it's pretty easy to narrow it down.
Yeah, well, and 9 to 12 hashtags is your recommendation. I've had people say, "Oh, you put too many hashtags on there." I was like, "Well, then you're not necessarily a regular Instagram user, because this devoted community is very much used to that. We expect that. That's how this platform operates, and so you're not cluttering up your post by putting a bunch of hashtags. That's what people." Serious participants on this platform, that's what they expect, So, and you can follow someone's page. You can follow different things. You can actually follow hashtags.
Yep.
So this is critically important. So if
it's a really cool feature.
Do not overlook the strategy behind with hashtags on your post, because it is mission critical with Instagram.
And if you're still not sure what to use, just based on searching, you can use hashtag apps or extensions in your web browser for inspiration. So hashtag expert and right tag are just a couple that seem to be pretty popular. Yeah. And definitely update them per post, because so for example, you build an energy efficient home, just your standard is considered energy efficient. But if your post isn't about energy efficiency, then maybe only use energy efficient home versus energy efficiency. Because if somebody's following that or tagging it, or that post has nothing to do with energy efficiency.
What would you do, Mandy? What I would do is, if I was posting something and I really wanted to drive home the message of energy efficiency, what I would do is I'd go to Google and I would do hashtags for energy efficiency.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You get these long lists of suggested hashtags, and then you look at several different sources provide different collections, and then you can kind of pull from each of them and and pull which ones make sense. I mean, it's not hard to find just a big list of relevant hashtags.
Not at all. They're out there. So just be strategic about it and make sure you're updating them per post. Don't use all the same ones for every single post. Make them a little different. Mix them up, just like you're mixing up the grid in general. And speaking of the grid, now that we've identified what is appropriate content, let's talk about the overall grid. Your Instagram aesthetic is the first thing potential customers will notice when they check out your brand's profile. It is meant to convey your brand's voice, personality, and help your followers instantly recognize your content when it appears on the feed. That all has to do with the color scheme, the layout, the tone, the overall feeling of your Instagram page. All of those things contribute to an aesthetic that can either gain you a new follower or send them running. The powers that be at Instagram determine that the most appealing format is square. So if you take anything away from this presentation today, please remember this. Square logo, square pictures, square ads. All of this squareness was bound to lead to a square grid format for each profile. So be aware that that is the preferred shape, and crop your photos ahead of time in Canva or Paint, or simply keep the photos zoomed in when publishing. If you zoom out, you risk important features looking cut off in the grid view. Like, for example, I see a lot of flyers and banners and things like that promoting events, which look okay in the grid. You're going through, or they look okay in the feed. You're going through, you can see them all perfectly fine. But then if you click through to the profile, half of the words are cut off. It's probably my biggest pet peeve.
It's my pet peeve too, where I set a personal rule that I do not post anything but square images, just for that very reason. Personal preference.
Just easier.
But it works. Yeah, and it is easier.
Mm-hmm. That's probably my biggest thing. If you don't implement any of these other strategies we're talking about, at the very least, you should be able to have a grid that doesn't have cutoff words. So,
yes.
But beyond that, eventually somebody saw the big grid picture to create art. So it was just a matter of time until people and brands jumped on the planned Instagram grid bandwagon. That's a mouthful too. And created puzzles, quotes, tiles, and so on. And more on that later. But because of that, now you have to pay attention to what you're going to post next so you don't break the flow. Some brands and influencers are even publishing 3 posts at a time in a specific order, so the design remains sleek. Okay, so respect the square. That's first and foremost. But another easy way to create a flowing, cohesive Instagram grid is to use the same color scheme. Kind of difficult in home building when you're featuring different models with unique color palettes. The solution is to use the same filter or preset for all your photos. So a preset is just a fancy name for a photo filter. They help do the bulk of your editing work and can be a great option if you're not looking to edit from scratch, or if you're new to photo editing entirely, photos and backdrops might differ, but a cohesive color palette can help bring it all together. My go-to place would be to explore preset options on Etsy. You'll see a wide range in prices, but just because some cost more does not mean they're superior. As it pertains to home building, you want to look at interior and exterior shading and what colors really pop. Most presets, they'll come with step-by-step instructions on how to use them in the Adobe Lightroom app. So it's very user-friendly and completely free in the App Store. It's just another big tip to create that cohesive grid. And personally, for me, applying a preset is that final step in my editing process. It helps my tone come together, keeps my theme consistent. And some
it just makes you look professional, and that's important.
It really does. And really helps. I mean, we have professional photography for most of our clients, but again, different model homes, different furniture, different artwork. They're still going to look different. So this just is, I guess, my trick to making it all blend better on the grid. You just have to decide what works for your brand. I mean, Instagram has its own filters on there. So if you could use the exact same one for all of them, that'll give you this same aesthetic. Okay, decision time. When it comes to selecting a grid layout, there are tons of options. There's the puzzle, which we were talking about, drives you a little nuts, Todd. Because you just see each of these individually and there's usually no context. It's usually just the photo.
Well, I'm one of those guys now. So for instance, on this Taylor Swift grid, what I would always see would be the bottom of the ponytail.
Right.
And I'd say, what is that? This is a weird photo. And then I would pause and I'd say, wait a minute, this is probably part of a grid. And I can't help myself. I would oftentimes click through to the person's actual page just to see, yep, this is part of. So that's probably part of the design of these puzzle grids is to, this must be one piece of a larger puzzle. So it probably does draw people in, which is probably designed. At first, though, I get a little confused.
Right. So that's one. And then there's, this is text line. People will sometimes mix it up with like quotes or anything like this. So it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just one line of text or quote. And then this is a mixed square. I'm going to come back to that. And then row by row, similar to the puzzle, but not as committed. It's just for one across. So my personal favorite is the mixed square. This grid layout is the best for businesses that would interrupt a specifically planned grid view. You never know what's going to come up or need to be pushed when it comes to home building. So just keeping in mind that preset filter to kind of bring it all together. And these are all cropped appropriately with the square. So that's my go-to.
Again, it depends on what you're trying to promote. And
exactly.
The grid example there with the Providence Group is a strategically planned grid. But it eliminates that problem that I was talking about with the Taylor Swift example, that you might stumble on any one of those that may draw your interest, and then you still will probably click through and say, "Oh, there's more to look at here, and more to see, and more to learn." So it still draws you in.
And it's a good combination of interiors and exteriors.
Yep, that's what you were saying earlier. Yeah.
Yep. So about that curated Instagram feed. It makes a great first impression, which can increase the percentage of people who follow after visiting your page. It also allows you to bulk create content and schedule everything in advance, which is our favorite thing to do as an agency. Then, of course, the obvious, it's seamless, aesthetically pleasing, and something that not everyone can achieve. So it can make you stand out from your competitors. But as with all positives, not every strategy is perfect. People are beginning to favor authentic, real-time content over that perfectly curated content. Plus, something that looks great on Instagram might not deliver the same message on Facebook or LinkedIn. Additionally, posting 3 times in a row might look spectacular on the grid, but it may not be as visually striking as individual posts in that news feed, like we were talking about.
Right. The random ponytail, right?
Yeah. It can look pretty random if you don't know there's a bigger picture to go look for.
The key, though, here, Mandy, is, to me, it seems, is mix it up, right? Yeah. If everything you do is part of a strategic grid, well, then that might get commercial and, this is just some business pushing product. But just mix it up. It seems to me to be simple advice to avoid that trap of just being overly commercial.
Yeah, I mean, if you did maybe one of those cut up photos and did the puzzle once a month, once every 2 to 3 months, that could be cool. So when someone's scrolling through your grid, they'll come to that in the future and then they'd see it again. So it's cool to do, but I don't recommend only doing puzzle posts or row by row for what we're doing. We're trying to sell. Essentially, a lot of our clients are just trying to sell homes. So
right.
And then, of course, if you're truly committed to maintaining a specific grid layout, you lose the flexibility of posting breaking news and having to share it after the fact. So that being said, it always comes down to what your specific goals are for your brand. This has become more popular in the last couple of years, maybe 3 years or so, a dedicated Instagram landing page on your website. Ever since, in 2017, this is when this happened. Instagram used to show posts in chronological order, but in 2017, the new algorithm switched the order of posts on users' feeds into what they think each account will like. Since then, many brands have begun using a dedicated Instagram landing page, which is just a standalone web page that displays all your Instagram posts and their individual links. So the beauty of this is that the link in bio remains the same. It can be as simple as your website.com/Instagram. So if you post multiple times a day or even once every 3 days, people that don't browse on an hourly or daily basis and might see posts out of order are not clicking a now irrelevant link. If you change it per post, they might not see it when you first post it. So it'll be different. Of course, there are some cons to that. You can't schedule that. So it has to be manually updated each time. There's no automatic feed to pull that through. So it's a little more labor intensive, but overall, we make it work. We have several clients we do that for.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. If imagery is important to your marketing, I think this is a no-brainer. It makes all the sense in the world to me. There's a reason why they've supported this, and it's now very popular. So it obviously works.
Absolutely. And we don't share that link anywhere else. It just stays as the link in bio. I mean, we don't promote it. We don't do anything else with it except for it be that link in bio. So all the traffic to it is essentially from Instagram. So it's interesting to track too.
Yeah.
All right. My last nugget of information. Your Instagram strategy should also consider posting times. This is not the Wild West. More is not necessarily better, and timing matters. In fact, Instagram users engage more on weekdays. I refer to Sprout Social for the best days and times to post, as it changes year to year, and they're really good about updating it. This information is just from the latest 2021 update, and it breaks down the best times for engagement, consumer goods, finance. They have a lot more categories than they used to. So you'll notice the best day to post for engagement is Friday, but remains pretty consistent throughout weekdays.
Which is good for home buyers, right? Because
absolutely,
they're all right. Well, sweetie, what are we going to do this weekend? Well, we got to go look for that house. And so, what are you going to do on Friday? Kind of figure out where you're going to go look. So that makes all kinds of sense.
And it's funny too that weekdays are the highest traffic because aren't we all supposed to be at work?
What does that tell you?
Taking a break, taking an Instagram break. I thought it was interesting compared to other platforms. Instagram does have scattered points of engagement on weekends and mornings. So not all is lost if you want to post on a weekend. Just be aware and aim to post earlier on those days. How often do you wake up on the weekend and you might just lay in bed and scroll through the Instagram feed? I know I do. So.
And doesn't your Instagram feed, particularly if you've linked it, made it a business account, which is a matter of clicking a button,
right.
It does give you some of this data, right? It'll show you when your more busy days are. So the information you've cited here is probably pretty consistent across all of Instagram, but you might have a bit of a unique twist to your audience, and you can see that through the data on your account, on the back end of your account.
Oh yeah, Instagram Insights is super helpful. You just really have to dive in and play with it. I mean, it's different per account and industry, so definitely worth checking out. When it comes down to it, engagement starts from within your company with your employees and raving fans. Remember how we talked about the new Instagram algorithm showing you the posts that it thinks you'll enjoy first? Well, it also tracks every time that you click read more, when you directly send a post to a friend or share a post to your story, and more. Which is pretty creepy, but no surprise.
But it's real. It's there. So we have to take advantage of that fact.
When we agree to use a platform, they have access to all that info. But as engagement increases on your post and account, the Instagram algorithm begins to suggest that post on the timelines of people who don't follow you. Suggested for you. You probably have seen, posts that Instagram just is suggesting. You don't follow them. You don't have any common followers, but for whatever reason, Instagram has decided that you might be interested in that. So always encourage your staff and happy customers to interact with your page to kind of boost that organic reach and engagement.
Yeah, you may be aware that, like on Twitter and Facebook, you have some ability to control what your feed looks like and how you want your content distributed. You don't have that choice on Instagram. It is 100% algorithm driven by the algorithm.
Yep.
And so you may or may not like that, but the fact is that's the facts, and you need to operate strategically or through that, and that can be, if you're a business trying to promote product to an audience looking for that content, that can be to your advantage.
Absolutely. It's a little less salesy, but I don't know. I like Instagram. I spend more time on Instagram than anywhere else now.
Me too. Absolutely. All right.
That is the nitty gritty.
Well, this is where people can find you, right?
Yes. Feel free to reach out. Happy to take a look at your Instagram and give you a couple quick pointers, or if you're interested in working with us, absolutely reach out.
Well, and as you said at the very top of the show, there's a lot more tools to play around with on Instagram. So perhaps down the road, we're going to dive into some more of those opportunities. But that's about all the time that we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to The Marketing Thread. I am Todd Schnick on behalf of Mandy Holm. We'll see you next time on The Marketing Thread.